Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Market Snapshot series. My name is Rufus Kamau, Markets Analyst at FX Pesa. So today we'll be talking about the top market events to expect in the markets this week. And that once we cover that, we'll also be going through the economic calendar, try to understand what are the top news to focus on. Then we cover some market analysis, try to understand the prevailing market patterns. Then from there, hopefully everyone will have a very good trading week. So as usual, I would like to begin with a disclaimer that this session is not investment advice, is not a recommendation to trade, so you should always do your own due diligence. So if you have any questions related to the presentation, feel free to type that in the comment section, and I'll be responding to that as we proceed. So let's get started right away and jump to some of the top highlights in the markets. So the first thing to notice in the market is that since the market opened, all currencies have been extremely strong against the US dollar after the US dollar weakened last week following a sequence of poorer than expected data. And this includes the CPI report, which showed that inflation had dropped to 2.5%, and also a couple of other job market indicators that showed that the job market is worsening, leading to the dollar weakening and all these other currencies gaining against the dollar. So now we enter into a new week with the dollar weakness. So on the other hand, if you look at the stocks and how they performed on Friday, there was quite positive optimism leading to a very strong rally, save for individual stocks like Adobe, which was down 8%. But for the rest of the stock market, it was majorly up, leading to an year-to-date performance that was quite exemplary. So if you look at some of these stocks like Walmart being up 53% year-to-date, and really 58%, then this is evidence that the stock market has been clearly very strong this year. So now we enter into a new Fed week or FOMC week, where the key focus will be on the Federal Open Market Committee, which will be meeting and announcing its interest decision on Wednesday. So Monday is plagued by a couple of bank holidays ranging from Japan to some European countries. So we don't have much happening on the economic calendar. So the only notable highlight will be the Empire State Manufacturing Index affecting the US dollar at 3:30 p.m. So for Tuesday, we'll be looking at the German ZEW Economic Sentiment Survey at 12 p.m. And then we'll look at Canadian CPI and then later on retail sales for the US. And that's at 3:30 p.m. So on Wednesday morning, we look at the Consumer Price Index for the UK, which is a measure of inflation. It's expected to have remained at 2.2%. Then from there, we'll jump straight to the FOMC interest rate decision. So far, the market is expecting a 25 basis point cut, and the market is kind of divided on whether the Fed will be going for 25 basis points or whether it will be going for 50 basis points. So the stock market seems to be responding positively to the potential of the Fed cutting interest rates. So in that case, we could see a rally in SP 500, the Dow Jones, Russell, and the Nasdaq indices. So after the announcement of the rate decision, there will be a press conference at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday. This will be the main focus to try and understand the future or oncoming monetary policy decisions and whether there will be a few more rate cuts before the end of the year. So then we will be looking at the GDP quarter from New Zealand on Thursday. Then we look at the job market report from Australia at 4:30 a.m. on Thursday. Before we get another central bank interest rate decision, in this case, this will be the UK, which will be expected to be holding interest rates steady at the current level of 5.0%. So in this case, with the expectation that the Bank of England might not cut interest rates on the next meeting on Thursday, then this remains quite a positive asset to be concentrating on, that is the pound. So they have already implemented one cut from the previous reading of 5.25% down to 5%, and now we're expecting them to hold the line at 5.0%, which basically implies that the pound could be our strong currency for the week as we look for weaker currencies to trade with. So a rate cut from the Fed would probably weaken the dollar. So continued rally in pound USD might be the play of the week. So we'll get the weekly unemployment claims data at 3:30 p.m. on Thursday, the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index at 3:30 p.m. on Thursday, then existing home sales data. So there is yet another central bank making a decision on interest rates, in this case, the People's Bank of China. This will be on Friday at 4 a.m. We don't expect much of a change for both the 1 year and the 5-year loan prime rate. So we expect them to maintain 3.35% and 3.85% unless there's a surprise. Then the last central bank that will be making an interest rate decision will be the Bank of Japan, which is expected to maintain rates at the current level of below or equal to 0.25%. So later on, we'll be getting the Bank of Japan press conference. Then retail sales at 9 a.m. on Friday. Bank of Canada Governor Macklem will be issuing a speech. I think there will be a lot of speeches on Friday. Of course, there will be one more speech from ECB President Lagarde and FOMC member Haka at 9 p.m. So we'll also be looking at the retail sales report from Canada at 3:30 p.m. So as you can see, it's an action-jammed week with the exemption of Monday. So besides that, other brief highlights that you might consider important for the week is one, Trump is safe after assassination attempt thwarted at Florida golf course, and this was last night on Sunday. So this was a big scare in the markets. So we'll be following closely on that one, but now I don't think it's a big worry. So the war in Ukraine, as well as the war in Israel versus Gaza, is still continuing. So Houthi missile reaches central Israel for first time, no injuries reported. So this continues to be a major factor in trading. Now, as you add the war, the attempts on Trump, you know that we are nearing the November 5th date, where we'll be focusing on who wins the elections. So that might have an impact on the direction the markets will take. And lastly, we do an overview of what are the key items to be focusing on this week. So stocks managed to secure solid wins ahead of critical monetary policy decision from the Federal Reserve, which has investors on edge over how aggressively the central bank will bring down interest rates. So the tech-savvy Nasdaq Composite Index read markets higher to nab its best week of the year, up about 6%. That weekly best was echoed by the benchmark SP 500, which saw an uptick of 4% as both gauges notched their fifth straight day of gains on Friday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also ended the week in green, up around 3%. So the positive swings come as traders have flip-flopped on whether the Federal Reserve will cut rates by 25 basis points or opt for a more robust 50 basis point cut at the end of its two-day policy meeting on Wednesday. No matter the size, it will be the first rate cut from the Fed since early 2020. So former New York President Bill Dudley said there is a strong case for a deeper cut as FOMC members attempt to maneuver a soft landing of the economy. That, along with reports from the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal that suggested policymakers were struggling to come to a decision, have fueled expectations for a jumbo rate cut. So outside the Fed decision, investors will also be monitoring the health of the consumer with retail sales for the month of August on the docket for Tuesday. The housing market will also be top of the mind after mortgage rates dropped to their lowest level since February 2023. So a weekly update on jobless claims will also be on schedule, as we have already mentioned. And in corporate earnings, we'll be looking at companies such as FedEx, General Mills, Lena Corporation, and Darden Restaurants, which will be headlining the earnings calendar. So FedEx will be in particular focus as earnings from the delivery conglomerate are often viewed as a bellwether for the state of the broader US economy. So the Fed's rate decision remains the biggest news of the week. We'll be looking at the other three central banks that will be announcing a rate decision: the Bank of England, the People's Bank of China, and the Bank of Japan. So a focus on the four interest rate decisions might give you the best outcome for the week. So given that, I believe it's time we look at some technical analysis and try to understand where the markets might be headed next. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to share my MT5. All right. So let's start with the dollar index. The dollar index remained pretty weak last week after attempting to make a gain earlier in the week. Towards the end of the week, raised all the gains. Now you can see that the market has opened with quite a strong sense of bearishness, meaning that the dollar is pretty weak across board as we look ahead to the Fed meeting. So as a response to that, you can see that the other currencies are taking advantage of that. So we already saw this happening with the euro. So after the market broke this area here, there was a retest, a second retest here towards the end of the day on Friday. Then today an acceleration higher, and it seems more likely that we'll be seeing more upside in the euro against the dollar, with potential target ranges being around this area here. So we could be seeing the euro USD making a rally to this point around 1.11352 as the dollar continues weakening. So for the pound, we're also seeing some form of breakout playing out here. So we don't have that yet. So if we use all the extreme prices, then there's still more room for upside. So if you were to use these as the original channel, then you would notice the first attempt to move higher, second attempt. So in this case, it seems more likely that we could be seeing some further upside heading to this price level here. So for pound USD, it's more likely that we will be seeing 1.32 price level. So for pound yen, we continue seeing continued momentum downwards. So in this case, as the market continues weakening or the yen continues strengthening, we continue seeing this being the core theme and the market potentially heading to the bottom here around 181.293 as it continues the bearish momentum. So for our USD, we are currently testing the highest price that we saw on Friday last week and almost completing the journey that we had speculated on Thursday. So on Thursday, we speculated that we would have a breakout, retest, and a continuation all the way up. So on Friday, we missed that, and now it seems more likely the market is eventually going for 0.67496 price level. So USDN continues with the bearish momentum. So as long as the dollar remains weak and the yen is strong, then we continue seeing this momentum being the order of the day. So we have already broken the lowest price that we saw here. This was on the 28th of December last year. So the price we are seeing now was last seen in the markets on the 27th of July in 2023. So it's more likely that the market will extend this bearish momentum and potentially get to this area here around 138.11. So if you've been following the BOJ carry trade, then it means that as long as the USD yen continues going down, then it forces more and more investors to unwind. So in this case, you can see that the currency has gained 13.76 against the dollar. So anyone who was borrowing short against the dollar, against the yen, is probably down 13% or more if they're still holding on to their position. So as for The Nikkei 225 index, we are not seeing much of a change in price action. So if you go to the 15 minutes chart, it seems like the market is just consolidating. So perhaps it's even easier to wait and see what plays out once the market gets outside of this triangle. So nothing much has been happening for the last 2 days, including today makes it 3 days. So at some point, we'll be bound to see some form of breakout. So as for gold, last week, we analyzed that we could potentially get a bounce from here or all the way down. So the earlier, the lower one didn't play out. So the breakout happened immediately. So we had this strong bullish momentum, with the target being at 2600, but we had our first initial target at 2550. So 2550 was hit during the news. Then the market had a slow climb, eclipsing up to 2580. So we expect the market to continue pushing higher, especially on the back of a weaker dollar. So perhaps we'll be seeing the market going for 2560 later today. And as you can see from the 15 minutes chart, there has been a very slow but gradual gain and push towards the 2560 price level. So remember, this is a new all-time high for gold, even from the prices we have seen this morning. So with a weak dollar, we continue seeing the market pushing higher. So as for Brent oil, we saw the market reversing here on Thursday, but later on bouncing and moving higher. Continued pushing higher on Friday, and now from the forward chart, it seems like we had a reversal week, meaning that the market may have closed the week on a green after rejecting lower prices around $68.475 per barrel. So in this case, it's more likely that we'll be seeing a continuation of the same this week. So we could be seeing oil prices making a recovery from the bottom or from the lowest prices that we saw last week here. So we have already broken the first upper trend line. So now if you zoom out, I believe we should be focusing on more upper trend lines and see if the market will be breaking those later in the week. So we could be seeing some more momentum fueling prices higher. So for the UT100, we didn't get the pullback you are looking for. So the market made a straight up bounce and moved higher. So our target has not been met yet. Remember, this was the area we were looking to cash out the bullish trades. So 19,626 could as well be hit today. Market is progressing well. For the Dow, we saw the market make a very strong rally last week towards a new all-time high. So the all-time high is 41,576, which means that from the current price level, I believe we are around 1%. So the market only have to rally 0.35% to get to a new all-time high. So from the 1 hour chart, this is how it looks like. From the 15 minutes chart, this is how it looks like. Clearly, we are looking at a market that consolidated using a triangle after the price action last week on Friday. And then this week opened with more of a sideways momentum. So potentially we could be seeing a break later on. So SP500 pushing towards a new all-time high. So I expect that to be the expectation for the day. So we continue seeing bullish momentum in equities ahead of the FOMC interest rate decision, which will be happening on Wednesday. Russell 2000 also being quite bullish for the day. So as for Bitcoin, we are now seeing a new channel emerging. So here we had expected a very strong rally to this price action area around $60,000. The market already got to that area, pulled back downwards, and now from what we are seeing here, it's more of a market that is trading within a channel. If you were to draw a channel trend line here, then it would be something like this. While that one marking the upper trend line, and the one marking lower trend line being along this path here, and the market has just been swinging between the two. So down, up, down, up, down. And now we are on an upswing, which implies that we are likely headed to a new high. So perhaps even 61K going through today and tomorrow as volatility resumes in the markets. So as for USD trading against the Swiss franc, we already speculated that the market will make this big drop. So we are still on course as the dollar loses to the Swiss franc. So the bottom of the last 3 weeks is around 0.84219. So I expect the price to continue dropping and eventually get to this area here. So apologies for a second. All right, I think my nose is better now. So now I'm checking on the comment section to see the comments you guys have shared. So good morning, Nonisa Jack. Thank you for joining. There's a request to check on Euro CAD, Euro New Zealand, Euro Swiss franc. I think we have analyzed all those currencies individually. We have done Euro USD, USD CAD, USD, New Zealand dollar, and USD against the Swiss franc. So all these are derivatives of the same currencies we have covered. So hello, Jothuo and Jason. Hello, Cherry Genius. Thank you for joining the session. Nasaha Zamaisha, thank you for joining. Jojo Koko, good morning too. Humphrey, good morning. It's Kazungu, good morning. So there's a good comment here from Oliver. Euro and Swiss franc are the only currency pairs that lack high impact news this week. Does that mean one can use technical analysis of the pair without worrying about fundamentals? Yes, you are absolutely correct. Though you should be aware that there are correlations in the market that might affect the pairs. So pound USD and AUD USD, we have already done that analysis. I believe so. Pound USD and AUD USD, we have done AUD USD. For the short term intraday, we expect the market to get here. And for the 4-hour, it's just the same price action candlestick. So perhaps even some further upside to around 0.67973. So I believe it's the same thing even for the pound. So a very strong bounce from a key prior support level now turned into a resistance. So in this case, the resistance into a support. So now an acceleration higher as the pound regains control. So with the expectation that the Bank of England will hold rates at 5% and the Fed to be cutting, so that its effective rates will be below 5%. So now it means that we could be seeing an acceleration of the price higher for pound USD. So even though there's a bank holiday in Japan, can we see the yen being very strong? Do you think the momentum is sustainable for the rest of the day or at least to Wednesday before the rate cut? So I believe we will be seeing more momentum in the yen as this session continues. That is the London session. Perhaps there is a chance of a reversal happening in the New York Open. So I wouldn't be very confident about the New York session, but I'm confident about the London session. So we have already done the gold analysis. Thank you. Hello, Robert Cavare. I can see J Squad. So there's an overall weakness in the dollar and strength in the yen this morning. So we already know the direction of USD yen. No need to overanalyze it. It's one of those simple moves that happen on a Monday, and you don't have to fight it. It's just the market extending last week's last week's drop. So potentially you could be seeing some further downside in USDN. Don't be overly aggressive. There'll be more opportunities later in the week. Good question. Why is the dollar index not showing enough previous, especially on H4? It's based on a futures contract, so it basically gets rolled over. So we don't have the past because it's a different contract. So it's basically rolled over every 1 month. So you have to renew the chart and get into the next contract. That's why you get less candlesticks. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time, and apologies for my hoarse voice. I'm still going through bad flu. So I hope you enjoyed the session. Also, if you would like to begin your forex trading journey, make sure to check the links in the description below for links to register for an account. And if you want to begin your trading, then check the Novice to Pro course available on FX Pesa YouTube. Learn from that and then join the sessions as we continue further. So also we have a nomination for Financially Incorrect on the Pulse magazine. So hopefully you can give us some votes. I will be sharing more on the voting on our socials so that you can support our podcast. So for Bullish Banter, we'll be airing a new podcast episode later this week. So make sure to check it out and share your feedback. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you on the next session.